I've been talking a lot about creating a path in your career that enables you to diversify your income, which is labeled a portfolio career. Of course, some of you believe in it, some of you don't, some of you are excited by it, some of you like this is delusional. Whatever it may be, people are doing it. Now, there's a part of that type of career that is something that I personally do and I've dived into, and that is contracting, okay? Or what I deem as independent consulting. Now, there is a difference between the two depending on how you're taxed. Point being made is this is not good. Oh, I had it. I've been talking about portfolio careers for the past couple of days and really allowing people to understand that this is an option. Not everyone's going to agree with this option, but it's an option nonetheless. And if this is something that you're looking to pursue, then you have to define what type of portfolio career that you want. Now, in this instance, a career path that I'm following, that I've created, is essentially centered around contracting. Now, within the UK, there's two types of contracting, inside and outside. Currently, I'm in an outside position, which is deemed as independent consulting. And this is a path taken which requires you to have slightly different skills relative to what you may have had in your 9 to 5. Now, with that in mind, there are some things that people don't do when it comes to finding new contracts, positioning themselves well, etc., etc. So, one of the first things that people fail to do is understand what times we're in and how they brand or niche themselves. I've spoken about this years ago, where essentially I believe in this whole idea of being a generalist or a specialist. Okay. Now, that is dependent upon whether you've got favorable times or difficult or trying times. So, if you're in favorable times, you're going to want to be a specialist because specialists are usually deemed as valuable, usually deemed as people who get paid more, etc., etc. Now, if you're a specialist, you may say something like, I'm a program management professional that essentially focuses on digital transformation within the NHS. Maybe digital transformation is still too high level. Maybe you want to say, I help to transform EPR software or whatever it may be. The point being made is it's unique and specific to that niche, to that industry. If you're in times that are more trying by nature, then you're more likely going to be focusing on being a generalist. So, generalist expression may be something like, I'm a program management professional that works within the public sector. Boom. There's less detail. And so, with that in mind, you have to understand what times we're in, and that's defined heavily by economic and socio-economic factors and geopolitical factors as well. So all of the stuff that's been happening over the last 5 years is no wonder why the labor markets globally have been suffering. Okay, because really and truly, if there is a lack of, like, in a nutshell, okay, if there is a lack of confidence from investors and businesses that invest in a country, then you're going to be put in a position where there's going to be less funding, less opportunity, less excitement, etc., etc. And so, of course, there are many other factors, but this is one of the bigger factors that may affect a multitude of different stuff. So, positioning is key. Are you in a time that requires you to be a specialist or a generalist? Another thing that you need to understand is, what's the market saying? Something that I like to do, it sounds so sad, is to survey the market. Okay. And I do this in two ways. I will manually check, based on my industry, what roles are available, contract roles or even perm roles, not for myself, but just to understand. So I'd probably check out something like CV Library. I don't really use Indeed as much. There's also JobServe, etc., etc. That can give you a flavor or understanding what's out there already. But also, every time I speak to a recruiter, I spoke to a recruiter today, okay, from a consulting firm. Well, they say they're a consulting firm, but I think they're just recruiters. But anyway, the point being made is, I asked them the question, what does the market look like? What does it feel like? And the general consensus that I'm getting from people right now is that it's still underperforming, but it's picking up slowly but surely, you know, because there is the appetite, there's a desire for people to want to work. So those are the main things that I want to say in terms of the whole sort of like specialist generalist thing. I think the final thing I want to say is that because we've lived in a society and a world that was heavily inflated, okay? So what I mean by that is there's a lot of people saying they can do things that they can't do. People are catching on. I had a lovely conversation with somebody who actually found me through YouTube. and potentially we could be working together on some, exciting things in the future. And essentially, she was saying how, she feels that there are individuals who are able to say anything, and recruitment agencies have been promoting these types of people. And therefore, they've been getting the roles. And I said, yeah, I agree with you. But the thing that I've seen is hiring managers and clients will see very quickly that these people aren't competent. Get rid of them quickly. That's going to do more damage, not only to the recruitment agency, but also to that person who's overinflating what they have not done. So don't lie, is what I'm saying. Tell the truth. And this is why I keep on banging on again and again and again, by knowing how to articulate your value. If you're not wanting to do a portfolio career or any of that stuff, the big take home thing is knowing how to articulate your value, so you allow yourself opportunities when you start looking for them, or they come your way. So that's the first thing. That's the first thing that people do badly. They don't know how to position themselves well. The second thing is people don't recognize the importance of soft skills. I think I used this as an example before. So there's a very competent project manager that I've recently recruited, and essentially I love the fact that they had coaching as a thing that they're trained in, and actually they actively pursue outside of their contracts. And so with that in mind, the beauty of that told me, at least anyway, that they have the potential to have great soft skills. Now, I've seen in reality they do have great soft skills, so it was a great bet. But the point being made is there are some individuals who just think all you need to do is be professional. And they think professional means be black and white, be a bit of a prick or whatever it may be, be cutthroat, da-da. No. Like, it is fluid by nature. You have to understand the dynamics of human potential, human psychology. When you understand yourself better, okay, and you're able to allow yourself to be vulnerable, you allow others to be vulnerable. It's a bit of like yen sort of advice or whatever it may be. But a point being made is, don't make the pure mistake of just being completely like formal and completely professional. Some people may say, actually, no, actually, it pays to be professional and it pays to be formal. I 100% agree. That's why I'm in the position I'm in right now. But I'm also fluid enough and flexible enough to understand how people work. So I will have a bit of informal to me. I will have a bit of banter. I will have a bit of this and that. It doesn't mean that I'm going drinking with you guys or whatever it may be. However, I'm human, is what I'm saying. And so when you bring your human self, you are more likely going to allow people to lean on you more, okay? So the basic things, I talk about this all the time because obviously I've gone through the whole coaching thing. The ability to ask great questions and the ability to make people feel like they're being heard is fundamental. Better yet, if you've heard what people have said and you've fed that back and you've given people constructive feedback in terms of how they can improve, again, yes, some people it may touch a nerve, but for other people, they would appreciate that. So don't be a person who's a robot. Be a person who has a certain level of empathy and is human. The third thing I'd say is feeling like they don't need to have some sort of brand presence. Now, when I say this, I'm not necessarily saying that you need to be online and posting and all this kind of stuff there, because that's another mistake, thinking that you only need to have an online presence. I would say what's more important is to have an offline presence. And so what I mean by that is, okay, look at me right now. I'm not looking my best, but whatever. But it means that if you are showing up in your contract, in your role, in your place of business, how do you want people to perceive you? How do you want them to perceive you? Like, we say this all the time. I've been saying this for years. Yeah, I want to change my wardrobe. I want to, make sure that I'm looking slick or going to the gym. I'm doing this. I'm eating clean. All this stuff. All this stuff. But do you do it? Do you do it is the question. And it may not feel like it's not affecting you, but imagine if you did do those things. Imagine how people would be treating you afterwards. At some fundamental level, and this is something that I know I align to, this is part of my problem, I actually don't care. But I'm saying care a little bit. Care a little bit about how you're perceived, because it does position you and set you up for more success. It doesn't need to be superficial. Hear what I'm saying here. All I'm saying is do the basics well. Do the basics well. Whether that is getting a trim, because the Lord knows I need a trim, okay? Or whether it's doing, I don't know, a certain routine or wearing certain things, whatever it may be, do it well. It's funny because, like, I've been doing these videos which are off the cuff. There's no planning involved apart from a few notes that I have on my Google Docs. And my wife has said to me, and my friend has said to me, you need to scrub up a little bit. You're looking a bit. And I'm just like, leave me alone, man. I'm focusing on inputs rather than like looks and all this kind of stuff there. And I hear what they're saying. They're correct. But at the same time, what this is doing is at least is giving me feedback, so I know I need to change moving forward. So if I don't change, I don't change. But for you guys, at least, it's important. I want to make sure that you're positioning yourself in the best opportunity. And at least if you present yourself well when it comes to, let's say, the interview or meeting someone or whatever it may be for the first time, then you can sort of gauge how you want to be afterwards. If it's socially acceptable, okay, to go beyond a certain like defined look. Now, you don't want to be in a position where you feel pressured or forced to be in a certain sort of like brand space offline, because that doesn't feel as authentic, or sincere, should we say. Let's not use the word authentic. So you have to know what that balance looks like, but don't be a slob. Be somebody who's presentable. The other thing I'd say is that, well, have I really finished on the brand element? I mean, I've spoken about online before, and I feel like you guys see it all the time. Do you know what I mean? So this is why I don't feel like I need to talk about it too tough. But if you are trying to sort of like position yourself online in terms of branding, I guess what you can do is start thinking about what are the key ideas that you want people to know about. For me, it's about ideas and how you associate yourself with different things that defines the perception that people have of you, and which determines whether people are attracted to you or not. It's that simple. And when I say attracted, want to know more, find out more, know, like, and trust, as people say, all of that kind of stuff. People usually, flock to ideas that make sense for them, or at least generate new thinking for them, okay? Or gives them a sense of hope or motivation. So whatever you do to ignite different thoughts and ideas, that's what your branding can do online, okay? Not just offline, but online. So that's a different perspective. So the next thing I want to talk about here is like really talking to this whole idea of delivery, okay? This is a word that I hear again and again and again when it comes to the whole sort of like workplace or contracting place or whatever it may be. And essentially, this is talking to the fact that if you promise something, make sure you deliver it. You have to make sure you deliver it, because if you don't, you're going to put yourself in a position where, again, people won't trust you. People trust you based on what you consistently do. Okay, so how you consistently show up and what you actually produce. So you have to think to yourself, what are you promising? And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Under promise, over deliver. That's how you do it. That's how the game is played. And so you're always going to have people in your pocket based on the fact that you're not promising too much. And better yet, like, make sure that you have some caveats. So for example, I was speaking to someone yesterday. Okay, so they wanted to jump on as a potential client. And I said to them straight, look, I don't provide no guarantees. However, I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure that you get the results that you're looking for. And all I am is a guide. I'm just a mere guide. I'm nothing else. I'm just responding to someone because I'm supposed to call them, and I don't want to interrupt this video I'm doing. But you need to make sure that like you under promise. So if you put yourself in that position where you under promise and you over deliver, people want more. People want more from you. So think to yourself, how can you position yourself better? You have to plan. You have to understand what the strategy is. You need to sit down and speak with a client or the hiring manager or whoever it may be. You need to understand all of those different parts of the scope so you know what you can deliver based on your experience, and you can sort of discard what you can't. So be really sort of like clear when it comes to your planning and your timelines and what you can and can't do. That is fundamental to securing the success of moving forward when it comes to, what you've promised. You also want to make sure that when it comes to this whole space, you're not putting yourself in a position where you don't have enough time or energy, okay? Sometimes we can overdo stuff. And I know people say, well, you've been talking about doing side gigs and all this kind of stuff there. Yeah, I have been talking about that. But let's not be stupid here. Everyone has different lifestyles. Everyone has different opportunities that they have in their lives. Everyone has different people in their lives that they need to support or not support. So you kind of need to design it based on what makes sense for you. And so whether those opportunities look conservative by nature, then they're conservative, which means maybe it's just an investing situation. Maybe it's just a thing where you have to do a bit of learning for, an extra hour, like each day, Monday to Friday. Or maybe it's more liberal by nature, where it's actually, it's you doing a service after work, or maybe even during working hours, okay? Or maybe it's some hardcore stuff that, like, you have to design what that looks like. So it means that you have to take the time to understand who do you want to become. A lot of people don't do that. I made that mistake. I just dived into stuff. It wasn't working out for me. And I was wondering why things weren't working. It's because I didn't take the time to sit down and understand who I wanted to become. That required me to look at my history. That required me to look at the feedback that I've received. That's required me to look at the evidence that has been thrown in my life to understand exactly what life is telling me and what decisions I want to make. And therefore, it comes down to your value system. What do you deem as important? What do you deem as important? Because that determines your destiny, so to speak, based on the destination that you're taking. So remember, like, if you're deciding to become a certain type of person, this will determine what sort of activities you take on board. So if we look at me as an example, right now, I'm an independent consultant. I'm also a trustee for a charity that's doing pretty well for itself. And I do the odd talk here and there, okay? And there's coaching as well. So these are the main things that I do, which contributes to my portfolio. Now, of course, the aim is to increase the stuff centered around the coaching stuff or the digital product stuff or whatever it may be, and spend less time within the consulting space, potentially. But it's because I've decided I want to be this type of person that is deemed as relatable, reliable, and what's the other R? I guess relentless. I don't know what the other R, resourceful, that's it. So this aligns to the type of person I am, okay? And so what does that mean? It means that I'm going to do things aligned to that stuff. And of course, there's a lot more work that you can do. I mean, in my life navigation Notion template, I have some sort of like questions that you can you can ask yourself in order for you to get to answers that support this development. The take-home message here is to make sure you know who you want to become. Some people fail to do that. And of course, what's linked to this is the planning element, okay? You can't plan everything. Now, this is an interesting thing because there is something to be said about over-planning, okay? And I understand what that looks like, especially being in the program or project world. It makes sense to do it. However, for me right now, what is serving me well is ensuring that I'm positioning myself to, number one, set really 90-day goals at most. And if I can't set a 90-day goal, just a 30-day goal at most. But there's no pressure because really I'm taking each day as it comes. It's just so I have something that I'm working towards. That's all it is. Yes, I have an overarching goal, and yes, it's defined by who I want to become and all that kind of stuff there. But I found that when I set these really strict, like I say dingent, that's the wrong word. What words am I using today? When I set some really strict and sort of like aggressive goals, it puts pressure on myself for no reason, and I crumble. So taking each day as it comes is really important because I know what the overarching theme is. I want to be this type of person because I've articulated it. Therefore, I know what I need to do each day. Yeah, I may check in here and there based on what I've written down, but I know what I need to do each day. So have an idea of what this looks like. You also want to be continuously learning. And this is not just about vocational studies. This is about experimentation. I've always said life is one big fat experiment. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. And so with that in mind, like even these videos, they're experiments. There's no strategy behind this apart from understanding what results I get from this afterwards. That's it. That's it. I've never done like videos every single day before. You've seen the mistakes I've made. You've seen the things that it's just an experiment that I'm doing, And yes, I've seen results like perking up, over the last 7 days or so. But if I treat it like an experiment, and if I'm not like hungry for a specific metric, and it's just focus on the inputs, and I think this is something that Layla Hormozi talks about, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to focus on doing that thing again and again and again, review, and then make decisions based on what needs to be done moving forward. So another thing that I think is a mistake, okay, is not seeking the right level of support. Okay. Now, what have I said previously again and again and again? Okay. I have said that when I first started this contracting game, I sought help. I sought help. It was a good friend of mine, and we were developing a friendship back then. We were working together, who actually sat me down and explained to me how it all worked. They explained to me how it all worked when it came to contracting. And from that, they gave me the motivation and impetus to ask more people, whether they were contractors or whether they were recruiters, hiring managers, accountants, to basically understand the lay of the land and understand what I need to do moving forward. And ultimately, the decision was I either needed to stay where I was staying, where I was miserable, or take the leap. Now, the leap may look different for everyone. Whether you're living at home, with your parents, or whether you've got your own mortgage, or whether you're renting, like everyone's situation is different. So not everyone's going to be able to do what I did. I recognize that. Some people may even have, redundancy, severance pay. Okay. So maybe there's an opportunity there. But the point we made is everyone's situation is different. You have to have the intelligence, i.e. changing your behavior based on the situation that you're in and learning from that, improving upon your current situation so that you can get the results and or outcomes that you want. I say this all to say, this started with asking people, getting that right mentorship, asking the right level of questions, being a diligent student, okay? Now, obviously, more formally, this could be joining a community, this could be finding a mentor, this could be getting coaching. And this is not shying away from paying, okay? If it comes down to that. If you feel like there's no one else around you, then maybe you have to pay. If you're against paying or you don't want to pay, then YouTube's your friend, books are your friend, your imagination is your friend. Whatever it may be, channel the inner mentor or outer mentor to basically get the clarity that you're seeking, because they're in positions that you may have never been in before. And of course, you may need a coach. Coach is slightly different because they're taking you on a journey and a transition. Coaching is more specific to trying to get a specific type of, I would say, positive result, okay? So maybe it's getting a new job. Maybe it is making more money from a specific business model. Maybe it's losing weight. A coach can help you with that stuff. A mentor is basically telling you what they know. Now, of course, you can use both, and the person you seek may use both, but you're using the wisdom of that individual regardless of what model they use. So hopefully this has given you some ideas of how you can avoid positioning yourself for success when it comes to, again, consulting, contracting, or even within a 9-to-5 sort of like employment as well. Sometimes I forget like different employment words and stuff. I don't know why it escapes me. It's because I've been out of it for a while. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this candid video with loads of mistakes and all that kind of jazz there, but whatever. If you want to see more videos centered around, again, portfolio careers, contracting, consulting, life management, leadership, all of that kind of jazz there, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And of course, if you've got any topic ideas, please feel free to let me know. All right, take care, God bless, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.